Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Max.
And this is Movies Actually, where we give you an honest review of the movies we've meddled with so mischievously over at Maybe Movies. And this time we are talking about...
Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Which apparently, it was originally going to be Pirates of the Caribbean. And then they changed it to Curse of the Black Pearl because they thought it would set it up more as a franchise to make it easier to do a sequel.
Oh, I see, instead of just being an adaptation of a ride, which
Yes.
is what it was originally,
Exactly,
wasn't it?
yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, Curse of the Black Pearl, the 2003 Disney film, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, directed by Gore Verbinski, and starring, okay, I'm going to rattle them off, I'm going to need fingers for this one.
Oh, yes.
So you've got Johnny Depp, you've got Orlando Bloom, Keira Knightley, Jonathan Pryce,
Jack Davenport.
Jack Davenport, thank you very much. Zoe Saldana.
Indeed, yes, on one of her earliest appearances, apparently.
Absolutely, yeah. Kevin R. McAnally, Mackenzie Crook.
Just all of them. All of the people.
And it's fantastic.
It is a good movie.
Yes, yeah. What's your memory of it then? When did you see it?
I saw it when it came out. I think I saw it at the movies. I think I remember seeing this on the big screen and just enjoying every single minute of it. This is what they're talking about when somebody says to you, it's a romp. It's a romp, it's an adventure, it's incredibly good fun. And it's not mean-spirited at all. It has little pokes of fun and jiggery-pokery and things like that, but it's never mean about what it's doing. It's always, if not completely family-friendly, pretty damn close to the perfect definition.
Absolutely, yeah, and it does quite nicely straddle that line between, as you say, that kind of good, wholesome family fun, with just a little bit of adult content in there, just to keep everybody happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and to keep it grounded, I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I have very fond memories of seeing this. I was living in Sussex at the time, and because I was working in a hotel, I was living in staff accommodation, literally for a bit of peace. I'd jump on the bus for a day and just go down to Brighton for the day.
Ah.
And I had a kind of thing, I'd go down and sort of about lunchtime, go and see what was on at the pictures, buy tickets for 2 films, one in the afternoon, watch that, come out, grab some dinner, and then go and see something in the evening before heading home.
Oh, wow, you do 2 in a day?
Yeah. I wish I could remember what the other film was that I watched, but that was the one that I watched first. I watched that in the afternoon, then I watched this one in the evening.
So you basically made your own double features?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I like it.
And it's probably the reason why I can't remember what the other one was because I went and saw this and was just absolutely just gobsmacked. Just a proper movie experience where you are literally just carried away by the film.
Absolutely. It's one of those films as well that it flows so smoothly that you feel like it's almost entirely improvised. It doesn't feel scripted. It's written with such a fine detail to characterization that you're often going, did the writers write this or did the actors improvise this? Because either would be very believable. It's got a very organic feeling to it that's really fun to follow along, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only bits that I've heard that were improvised on set are Johnny Depp's lines about eunuchs. You threw those in. And his savvy kind of catchphrase as well. The only other one that I heard was when Jack the monkey gives the medallion back to Barbossa and the monkey smiles.
Yeah.
That was purely in a moment.
Oh, right. Okay.
So even the monkey was improvising.
Well, that shows you just how well written this script was, because from the casual observer's point of view, you can't tell that it was scripted that way. It feels like a completely organic conversation happening all the time. I love that about it. Yes. I do love that about it. It's one of those strange movies as well where the person that you're rooting for was meant to be the side character. Mm-hmm. He was meant to be the sidekick or the companion, and he just stole it. 100,000%. Owned it.
I can't imagine, off the top of my head, I'm trying to imagine a better entrance for a character.
Oh, that entrance is unbelievable. We were just talking about it while we were watching earlier, and I don't know how many takes it must have taken them to get that perfect. but it is the perfect way to introduce that character.
It certainly is, definitely. A lot of people may know this from the films that succeeded it, with mixed kind of reception, and they are a bit of a mixed bag.
All of them have their fans and their detractors, but none of them are as pure as the first one, are they?
No, not at all. I think I found the second one was the third one. I think is the one that I like the least.
Yes, I think so.
There was some really odd set pieces in there and things like that that just didn't work.
They seem to think they'd set up enough stuff in the second one that they didn't have to explain things in the third one, and they did.
Yeah. I don't know whether they're going to do a sixth one because of all of the stuff with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and all that kind of stuff. And,
at the moment it's up in the air, but probably not going to happen.
Which is a shame. And I remember hearing, I knew the fifth one was coming through Kevin's daughter.
Ah, right.
Because she told me about it because he'd just heard that they were like, actually, yeah, we'll do that one.
Oh, right, okay.
So, something else. What was I going to say?
I do not know. What were you going to say?
I have no idea. But yeah, it's regardless of what Disney may have become now, this early 2000s, this is kind of Disney at their best.
Well, they were at the peak of their resurgence, weren't they? They'd done the 90s thing with all the animated things, and this was them moving into live action doing that thing.
Yes.
And it worked the first few times.
It did. That's what I was going to say. It was about, you mentioned it at the start. This is based on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride from Walt Disney World. Have you been on it? I've been to...
I've never been to Disney World or Disneyland.
I've been on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Euro Disney.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, no, I've never been anywhere near them.
Yeah, and it was good fun.
So, the one bit in the movie when it gets revealed that they're all ghosts, that's the bit that's supposed to be most directly ripped from the ride. At least what I heard. Does that match up to your experience? You know, the bit where the moonlight comes out and all the skeletons are scrubbing the decks. And...
I must admit, it was a long time ago. That bit I don't remember. What I do remember that I can see in this, when you're looking down on the banks and you've got the mountains of treasure and gold and stuff.
Yeah.
And you've got the skeleton pirates kind of dotted around amongst the treasure.
Ah, right. Okay, so it's not exactly like that.
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
But that's. I mean, they may have been. It's just my memory. It's
I just remember various, the sort of behind the scene things that come out when a movie comes out, and they were like, "This is the bit that really was meant to most evoke the ride." And I was like, I've never been on it, so I was just wondering how it compared for you.
Again, it's a long time ago. It must have been about maybe about 5-6 years before this came out. And again, I don't know. There may be a variation between the version at Euro Disney to the one in the States.
Well, of course, no, I've no idea. Again, can't compare notes. But, sorry, folks.
But again, it's a bit of a gamble making a film based on a ride, and obviously this one hit the mark, absolutely. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for Ghost Mansion. Was it Haunted Mansion?
The Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, the one that they did with...
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
that's another one of those classic ones. This is one of those things. Disney went through a phase of building movies based around their rides, and a bunch of other companies started making movies based around board games like Battleship and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There was an era when people were trying to turn their games and their rides into movies. And I feel like this is the only one that ever really worked.
Yes, yeah, all the others didn't quite hit the mark at all.
Yeah.
Again, interesting concept, but it's one of those things, so much has to go right.
Oh, so much, yes.
You have to have the right production team, the right director, the right...
Well, imagine
writers.
This movie being made without Depp. Just imagine that. Anybody else. Just imagine anybody else.
Apparently it almost wasn't originally.
Who was it almost originally?
They wanted De Niro.
Robert De Niro?
They wanted De Niro as Jack Sparrow. De Niro turned it down because he didn't think pirate movies were selling that well, because the ones in the 90s... like the one with Gina Davis and all that kind of thing, hadn't done particularly well.
What do you think, folks? Would that have worked? But I can't imagine that having worked.
Well, apparently, because he turned this down, and then when he saw how good it did, that's why he accepted the part of the pirate captain in Stardust.
That makes so much sense. Yes.
Which is another good film, if you haven't seen it.
But again, I mean, imagine that role being played by someone else.
Exactly.
You know, like Johnny Depp would have been too over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the weird circumstances in movie land that brings people to roles. Apparently, this worked out for everybody involved.
Certainly worked out for Johnny Depp.
Oh, yeah. Well, for a while, at least.
Yes. Yeah. Again, that was my one disappointment, I think, with the fifth one, because of where he was within himself. And obviously the problems he was having at home and all that kind of thing. He was a shadow of himself, and they lampooned him in the film.
I've not seen that movie all the way through. I've only seen bits of it.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's not that it's a bad film. It's just he himself is a far cry from the man that he was in this.
He's a ghost.
Yeah,
he's a ghost in his own movie.
Yeah, and they lampoon him in that, which is such a shame. But if by some circumstance you haven't seen this, then do definitely recommend checking it out. It was one of the ones that came up very early on in the show, and it was one that how could we not do it?
Well, indeed, yes, how could we not? It's just, like I say, it's like Indiana Jones. It's an adventure, it's a romp, and you're going to enjoy the entire experience.
And there is some lovely attention to detail, as within my limited knowledge of the time and the period and the social hierarchies and all of those kind of things. Again, that just adds authenticity.
Verisimilitude.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's the word I'm looking for. But I think, I don't know about you, but for me, that is definitely 2 thumbs up.
4 thumbs up here.
Mm-hmm.
All round, go and watch it. Have some fun. Enjoy yourselves.
Definitely. We're a little bit out of order this month, with this one as to, because we've been trying to play these through kind of like how we did the show, but for very good reasons, as you'll find out on the next one. And if you are ever in doubt, the most important thing to do is to shoot the glass.
Of course. For once, I know what you're talking about.
Fantastic. So, yeah, we will see you on the next one, which I'm imagining will be out between Christmas and New Year.
So look forward to that, folks.
Until then, if we don't see you before, then do have a great Christmas, have a great run-up to Christmas, and don't pull your hair out too much.
Not too much.
In the mad rush for stuff.
Well, as always, guys, TTFN.
Take care.